And our first question here that's come through is from Armand Fari, and he's asked, as we approach a funder or funding organization, what do funders expect one to have a very, and in bold, very good understanding of when applying for funding?
There's a few things, and I'll stick to the most important because the underlying vary, right? So the first thing is that you know your funding need. That sounds very simplistic. Of course I know my funding need, but you'd be surprised how many people don't know it. And what am I talking about? How much you want, what you want to use the fundings for.
So just stop there. People come to you and ask you for funding and don't know how much they want.
Sometimes they give you a range, sometimes they're quite specific, but often they may not say in detail how this funding is going to be. I need 5 million rand, and they can explain away what 2 million is needed, but not the other, 3. Now this goes to all funders, not just a Spartan issue, right? So one is knowing the details about your funding. What do you want the funding to be used for? And how do you envisage repaying it back? Because you may know, I need it for a project, I need it for a contract, I need it for this specific purpose, which will determine how you can afford the repayments. Because that should be dictating who you approach for funding and on what basis. Because if your project can only afford to pay it back in 6 months, there's no point of applying for funding that can be paid back, needs to be paid back in 3 months. So that's the one category.
You used, sorry, I'm interrupting you, I always do that. You use the word project, what your project is able to fund back. Does that mean if I come in as a business, I can't come in as a general business?
You can.
I have to fund something?
You can. I mean,
an order or
yeah,
something?
No. People have funding needs that is a whole smorgasbord of stuff. I just use that as an example. But whatever your funding need is, you're going to know, I'm going to put this funding to that use, and this is how I envisage getting the money back to be able to service and pay that. You need to know that first before the funder can determine that, because it shows that you know your stuff. Okay.
So come on, I keep interrupting.
Go
but
for it.
you spent the last eight years with me, so you know that's going to happen, right? So you speak about the fact that people say this is what I'm going to need, right? But I see that as well. People provide me with business plans. It's got that J curve. Need lots of money. Going to make lots of money in year 3. So how do you know that they are actually going to be able to pay it back? Because they can put anything on that document.
No, so that's where the funder is going to start interrogating it, looking at your cash flows, looking at your business model, whether it's a contract, whether it's a retail business, your assumptions, all those types of things. And they're going to interrogate that and try and verify that. That's why it's important that you show that you have a very good understanding yourself, because you can then motivate to them. So that's the one thing. The second is knowing all aspects of your business, your target market, your margins, your numbers. You'll be surprised, those basic things like your financials and your numbers. Often people say, well, I'll have to get the accountant to answer that because I don't look into those things. Very poor showing. You don't have to be an accountant, but you want to be seen to at least have a familiarity. So that's another important aspect. And then funders also want to know that you've done your research about which funders need to be approached and what the funders' criteria is. Because it's not a universal thing. The funders, like any business, specialize in something, right? So if there's a criteria mismatch or a target market mismatch by what a funder will consider, you're wasting their time and your time. So these would be the big issues that you should know.
But surely your systems, any funders, so when I say your
any funder,
systems will knock that out.
Yes. Depends. Some knock it out very early, some knock it out a bit late. Does happen. So yeah.
So Armand, I hope we've answered that.